So, John, what is the most inappropriate thing... I don't want to ask this question. What is the most inappropriate thing you've done with a toy?
So, when I was a kid, my brother used to collect little football figurines. Mm-hmm. You know those ones with, like, the big heads, with the little bodies?
Sorry, anything you say just makes this story much, much worse until, like, just get to the end of it, please.
Fine, look, that's your dirty mind. No, I used to have all of these little football figurines with like giant heads and tiny little bodies, and he loved them. They were like his pride and joy. Mm-hmm. And me being a horrible big brother, I liked to torment him. And so sometimes when he would piss me off, or just sometimes just because I felt like it, I would steal them in the night, and I'd put them in glasses of water and put them in the freezer. And then kind of put them back in his room, like as if they were frozen in carbonite, but they're just frozen in ice, and like just create this nightmare kind of facade in his bedroom of like his frozen dolls. Yeah, that's
pretty creative, and it's thankfully way less inappropriate than anything I had in my head. So
there you go. So sorry to disappoint you.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome everybody to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where we pitch prequels, sequels and spin-offs to films that don't have any. I'm Harry, and joining me as always is John.
Hello.
And we are back.
We are back.
It's been a couple of weeks for us, and no time for you.
No change whatsoever for you, because we are what? Professional. Mm-hmm. You went on holiday very selfishly for 2.5 weeks, but we ploughed through.
Because you never got on holiday for 2 weeks?
Never.
No.
Dedicated only to this podcast. But we ploughed through. We got it all together, and so there was no interruption to the feed. However, this is our first time recording together for about 3 weeks, so welcome back, Harry. I missed you.
Great, thank you.
Fun.
So this film,
yeah, okay.
Welcome to Marwen. Mm-hmm. The film that I first saw a trailer of a few months ago, I guess, in the build-up to Oscar season. I thought, that looks interesting. Like Steve Carrell, I like him. He's a decent actor, and this film looks like it's something.
Mm-hmm, it's certainly something, yeah.
Yeah, like, it looks like something a bit different and original, with sort of a mixture of animation and real life, but I guess it's motion capture animation as well.
Yeah.
And so I thought, that might be quite interesting, and then never heard about it again. It clearly did not get any Oscar buzz.
Oh no, this film bombed, like, big time. We'll get to, like, what happened and why, but it was not a success.
Yeah. So despite all that, John chose it anyway.
Well, okay. Full disclosure. Okay, yeah, I'll raise my hand on this one. Fair enough. Same as you. I mean, I don't think I even saw the trailer. I just got a gist of what it was. I maybe saw a brief trailer for it. And it's Robert Zemeckis, who we've done... I think this might be like our 5th or 6th film of his we've done now. I think he's our most gone-to director.
Yeah, I think so.
He did Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Castaway... Real mixed bag. Real highs and lows of Zemeckis. I'm sure we done another one of his as well. Death Becomes Her was him.
Ah, yeah.
So, he does visual films. Like Castaway's not that visual, but the rest of them are all like very much visual effects.
Castaway's an awful film, but let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about Castaway now. But yeah, so, I generally find his films to be really interesting. And you were really keen to see this one. Because it was such a flop, it kind of came and went within a few days. It had no cinema release pretty much in the UK at all. So we didn't get a chance to see it. So then...
I would have liked to have seen it around the time.
Yeah, same.
Because then it would have been an episode for the bonus show as opposed to for the main show.
Yeah, which would have been a lot easier. Yeah. Well, that's it. I didn't really... There was a lot I didn't know. I literally just thought, here's a film that's kind of tanked, that looked interesting, might be fun to talk about. We've got a free week, there's no themes. I'll just put it out there. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that might have been a mistake. This film is... I mean, it is interesting. I have some thoughts, and I'm sure you do too. But when it comes to... pitching sequels and stuff, it's going to be real tricky. I didn't realise, A, that this film was based on a true story, which is always tricky, or that it was going to be as dark and depressing as the story this is based on. I
mean, this film doesn't make it so dark and depressing.
It doesn't, no.
No, it is ultimately quite an unhappy story, but, this film, I'm not going to quite say makes light of it, but I don't know, it's not all just really unhappy times. Like there are definite fun times in this movie.
Absolutely, yeah, which is what... I guess I was hoping for this film to either be either be something that was just underrated and was quite interesting and quirky, which in some ways it was, or it'd be like a complete mess that we could just laugh at. And I don't think it was quite either.
No, it wasn't, was it?
It fell somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I think it's strange and I think it's ill-judged, but I don't think it's... there were parts of it I liked. I thought... it's a tricky one. But what did you think?
There was a lot of this film that I liked. I mean, writing sequels to this film was so difficult.
Yeah.
Like, probably the most difficult it's ever been for something that is actually going to be an episode that we record.
Yeah, true. If this had been done 2 years ago, we probably would have just cancelled it or something.
Yeah, I imagine so. But the film itself, I quite enjoyed watching, to be honest. I don't think that it should have been nominated for Oscars. I don't think it was snubbed at all.
Oh, heavens no.
I mean, Steve Carrell was great in this.
Do you think?
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought he was...
I really believed his character.
Okay. I thought he was good, but I don't think he was I didn't think he was necessarily right for the role.
He might not have been perfect. He had the same looks as the guy.
He did, actually. When I looked up the guy, I could say, okay, they do look very similar. So
yeah, that might have been the problem, was that they may have cast a bit visually rather than...
Yeah, I was just thinking there's two ways that you could go with this, I think. I think Steve Carell, he's fine, but I just never really bought into it. I think the perfect casting, if you're going to go for like a bit more true to the actual story. Basically, so to give it a background on this, the story is, very quickly, it's based on a true story, and it was the subject of a documentary about 7 or 8 years ago called Marwen Call. It's a guy who gets beaten up in a bar, horribly beaten, to the point where he's in a coma for like 9 days, and as he recovers, obviously he's got a lot of physical problems as he's recovering, and he loses he's lost most of his memory, most of his memory of his life.
Like all his personal memories.
All his personal memories are gone. Like, so he's having to rebuild from scratch. He was an artist before, but now he can't draw anymore because his hands, his movements kind of not the same. And so he processes it and deals with it through creating these dioramas with dolls and taking photos of them. So that's the basic plot, and then it's all about him. He's a very lonely guy. Before the accident, he was like an alcoholic. He was just kind of the town drunk, and now he doesn't drink anymore. But he's still, obviously he's got a lot of problems, from his trauma, and also just a lot of general personal problems. So he's quite lonely, and as it turns out, quite sexually frustrated. He's also, how he describes it, as a cross-dresser. He's he likes to wear women's clothes, which is, it turns out, was one of the reasons maybe the primary reason he was attacked. Yeah, so it's about this real kind of, and I don't mean this as a derogatory term, but this real oddball character, somebody who's like got a lot going on. I would have cast someone like Michael Shannon, I think.
Okay, sure. I can't say I've seen him in enough roles that are anywhere near similar to this.
But he plays like...
I've only ever seen him
plays
like
offbeat, oddball. Yeah, maybe that would make it too creepy. Maybe that would be primed to think of him as a bad guy, which he's not a bad guy. But I just thought Steve Carell was a little bit cloying at times. I don't know, it was just a bit... He was in line with every problem I had with this film, where it was trying to be two things at once, and it was half of like a typical Forrest Gump, Robert Zemeckis kind of film.
I was gonna say, I mean, he's done a few similar-ish roles, but would Tom Hanks have been a good shout for this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking if this film had been made 20 years ago, I reckon it would have been Robin Williams. Someone like that, yeah. Which could have gone either way, because sometimes Robin Williams is way too sentimental, and it could have been just like awful, or it could have worked because he's all about was all about like the imagination and the power of the imagination. And so if you wanted to go down that real magical route, because a lot of this film is like magical realism, someone like Robin Williams would have worked. I think if you were going to go for a more gritty version of it, someone like Michael Shannon would have worked. I also think maybe if it was like made 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe like have Tim Burton direct it instead and have Johnny Depp do it, something like that. Oof, would that be too much?
No,
and you think of that just because
no, because I feel like it would take away. I've not seen a Tim Burton film that's serious enough, really. It's always been here's a Tim Burton style film,
sure,
which it's fine for a style, but I don't think that this suits it at all, because it's such an emotional story and such a real story as well. Even if it's in the imagination, it's very real. I've not seen Tim Burton do anything that I think would qualify him for this.
Well, I think it would have been different. I just don't know if it works as a Robert Zemeckis film. That was my problem with it, because on paper it's perfect, because he's all about the visual effects. All of his film, Forrest Gump has all the the time, the altered historical things of Forrest meeting all of the the presidents and Martin Luther King and all that kind of stuff. Roger Rabbit with the animation, Death Becomes Her with the 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 effects on that, the body horror stuff. So for what he does, you can see why he was attracted to this, because half of the film is these kind of CGI I don't know how they did it, but the characters as dolls basically. So that kind of fits in with someone who has a good visual flair. But I think a lot of Robert Zemeckis' films are also quite Hollywoody. And I just don't think this, especially having watched the documentary afterwards, it's just not a Hollywoody story. It's too... He really tries to tack on a happy ending, and it just feels... I just thought the tone of this film was very uneven. Like, it didn't quite get under the skin of the character enough, and it really didn't say anything about anyone else in the film. How anyone around him really felt.
Yeah,
I felt like it could have done.
Only really touched on Nicole.
Yeah.
Like, it really should have delved more into her story.
I wanted just at least one scene in this film, because basically it's a lot of women. But all of the dolls he has are... he's got his own doll. He's got his own doll, which is Captain Hoagie, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
He was like it's all of his doll dioramas are set in like Belgium in World War II or World War One.
Yeah.
So they're all like very adventure. It's him basically overcoming his trauma by imagining himself as a much more dashing and confident version of himself, where all of these ladies, he's basically commanding this whole unit of like kick-ass lady soldiers, and and there's a very kind of sexual element to it as well, because he's obviously very sexually frustrated and very lonely, and so that really plays into it. I just needed a few scenes of the real life women because all the dolls are based on women he knows, like women he's worked with or women he's got crushes on, etc.
And there were so few. There was like one for each person, really.
What do you mean?
As in one scene for each.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Apart from the woman in the shop.
Yeah, Leslie Mann and Merritt Weaver. Those two had a few scenes.
Which one's which? I don't know.
So Leslie Mann is Nicole, the main love interest, with the kind of high-pitchy voice.
Yeah.
And then Merritt Weaver plays the woman who runs the hobby shop, who's kind of his friend. Yeah.
And so those are the only ones, the only women who in this get any kind of, character, really. Like, all the other women, I think all the other women are there in some form. Like, they come for one scene. Like, Gwendoline Christie gets a scene right early on. Whew, I did not expect that. I was not ready for that.
No, she just comes in with this broad Russian accent. Like,
it was something else.
That was something. Yeah, I wanted more of that. Like, this is odd. Give me more of this. But she never came up again. Like, she's there in the doll scenes, but as a character. And Janelle Monáe as well. Janelle Monáe plays someone who helped him through rehab, his physical rehab. Like, I think an ex-military person, because she's lost a leg. But she's only in one scene in flashback. You never see her again. So
no. And there's somebody that he works with
yes, there's
who just get a couple of scenes, I think.
Yeah, the Spanish girl. Yeah, it's basically all of these women who are his friends who he seems more comfortable around women than men, probably because he's been beaten horribly by
I guess, yeah.
And also because he's quite sexually frustrated and he fetishizes them quite a lot. Because that's the thing, like, the character is, you feel bad for the guy, obviously. He's been through a horrible thing. He's not a bad person. But he literally is objectifying women for the whole film. Like, literally.
Yes, but only in his mind? Yes,
only in his mind. Like I said, I'm not saying it makes him a bad person. It's totally understandable. And I thought this film did some really interesting things with, like, or started to do interesting things. I don't think it succeeded, but I thought it was refreshing to see a film that was quite matter of fact and quite open-minded about, like, fetishes and stuff. Like the fact that he's got a foot fetish or a shoe fetish, sure.
Yeah. And in fact, no, he said in his own words that it's not a fetish.
Oh, but it's about their essence, sure. But still, there's definitely a sense that they all know that he's kind of getting off on them, if you know what I mean. Like, because he's always making the dolls pose, like, topless and in sexual positions, all this kind of stuff. He's obviously working through his sexual frustrations with his dolls, basically. Yeah. And the women are just totally like, okay. Like, nobody judges him for it. Nobody seems particularly disgusted by it or freaked out by it. And I think that's nice. I think that's a nice message, and I think that I'm always in favour of, like, sex positivity and stuff. And
well, I mean, I got the impression that a lot of the women in his life, they're all very aware of his situation, and they're doing their absolute best to make him feel as comfortable as possible.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, he's in a shit situation, and they're trying to make him feel like he's safe. Yeah. And they're doing that, really. And they know that, like, okay, well, if him imagining me and these other people in these situations, if that helps him, then yeah, sure. Great.
I thought that was all coming from a good place, but I just would have loved to have seen at least just one scene of the women talking among themselves, or just any two women, like, talking among themselves about how they actually feel about it. And maybe, for example, So when Leslie Mann's character moves in, she's like a new neighbour, so she moves in across the street, and he sees her through the window, and he's instantly very attracted to her, and then they kind of get to know each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so she sees the dollhouse first, and she doesn't really know what it is, and she's a bit confused. And then at some point off screen, we assume Merritt Weaver's character tells her what's going on, because then she goes to Steve Carrell and she says,
I was very much waiting for that scene as well.
yeah. She says, "Oh, I heard what happened to you. I'm so sorry." And then after that, she's just entirely accepting of him, and she helps him out. She gives him shoes, all this kind of stuff. She gives him dolls. I just would have liked that scene of her being told what the situation was, and them talking about how they felt about it. Because all the women in this film were completely two-dimensional. No pun intended, they're all dolls. But you know what I mean? Like, even when they're humans, they don't get any kind of character development.
Yeah.
And I know it's his story, but still, it just made the film a little bit shallow for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I guess that's what it was missing.
Yeah.
If it had a couple of scenes like that, maybe it would have done a lot better. It would have been reviewed much higher.
Well, that's the thing. After I watched the documentary, I realised that I always like to see a film that I've never seen before, like something that's doing something, telling a new story. And this is definitely doing that. This is nothing I've ever seen anything like before, which is great. But I don't think the real story suits like a Hollywood movie treatment. Because it's really sad, and it's really like the guy is really damaged. If you watch the in the documentary, he doesn't have a girlfriend at the end of it. Like, you know, at the end of the film, they set him up with Merritt Weaver's character to kind of, I guess, because they want to end it on a hopeful note, but that's not true to what actually happened. I mean, the basics are all the same. Like, there is a Nicole character. I think she was called Colleen in real life, but there was a neighbour who was actually married.
Yeah.
Who he did develop a massive crush on, and she was kind of accepting of it at first, but then she realised it had crossed over into he was just madly in love with her, and you know, she didn't really know what to do with it, and then she ended up moving away basically. And he just seems like you know, a nice guy, but he seems like he's really struggling with a lot of like anger and a lot of like sexual frustration and all this kind of stuff. And it's really, really interesting. I'd recommend anyone watch the documentary. It's called Marwen Call, I think. But yeah, it's not a happy Hollywood story. It's not like, it's really not. It's much more complicated than that. And yeah, this film, I think, tried to crowbar that into like a Hollywood narrative, and that was the thing that I just didn't really work for me. And it just didn't ring very true.
Something going on in the church?
Oh, yeah.
You mind if I take a look? I love how everything is so cute. All the little flowers and the mailbox and these cute little curtains. It's just all the details. Oh my God! What are they doing? Who are they?
They're Nazis. Torturing Hoagie.
Why?
They hate him.
Because he's an American?
Because he's different.
I mean, what was your takeaway from this film, other than, like, you said you enjoyed parts of it, but like...
I had fun with it, but at times I was kind of wondering where it was going.
Yeah, there wasn't much plot to it as well.
No, there really wasn't. And it seemed a bit predictable in a way of, like, you know, there's a court scene in the middle where just, like, he's been convinced to go to court and then that doesn't work out. And then by the end of the film, I could tell that it was all just going to be happily ever after. He's going to go to court. He's going to read some kind of a statement. Maybe he's going to throw the statement away and just use his own words or something like that, which I don't remember if he did or not.
He didn't do that.
And then he is going to get to the art gallery, and you know, he's going to do all the things, and everything's going to go well for him at the end and stuff. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It really made it quite generic. So basically, the main plot, for such as it is he's got his crush on Leslie Mann that kind of plays out through the film, and then he's also got all these photos he takes of his dioramas, his dolls, get picked up by an art gallery in. I believe it was in New York, but I don't know if this film ever specified that he had to go that far out into town. But yeah, so there's an art showing of his pictures that he's weighing up whether or not what he's going to go to, because he's obviously very socially anxious and awkward. He doesn't really like crowds and people. And it's also on the same day, coincidentally, which is not true, obviously, as the day when the people who beat him up, when the people who attacked him are going to be sentenced.
Yeah.
And his lawyer is pressuring him to go to the hearing to make sure that they get the maximum sentence, because he wants the judge to see how much damage they did to him. But he's very afraid to to go and face them. So that it's all building up to whether or not he's going to have the strength to do either of those things.
In real life, did he run out of the first hearing or anything?
It wasn't mentioned, no. Well, in real life, he's much more angry. And that was another thing. He didn't come across as much scared as angry. It's like he talks a lot in the documentary about how he fantasizes about beating the shit out of them, killing them, stabbing them. You know the bit where he gets kidnapped and tied up and he's being tortured by the Nazis, and then the women come in and blow shit up and save the day. Yeah. In the documentary, it's much more explicit that is him working through his anger about being attacked and what they did to him, and he really talks at length about how he fantasizes about the women slowly and horribly torturing the people who attacked him, and it gets really dark, like really dark. And there's a real sense that I guess a lot of his friends are like, well, at least if he's working through the dolls, he's not going to shoot anyone. You know, it's a real I had very mixed feeling. It's very complicated. It's like, is this healthier? Is it a healthier way to work through his trauma? Is it not? Is it making things worse for him? And it never really lands on an answer. But yeah, the film kind of glosses over that a lot. Like it just it doesn't really spell out that that's where it's coming from. But yeah, the film makes him just seem more like this shy little, almost like lovable eccentric, when the real guy's a lot more like damaged than that. Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah.
There's Hoagie's Purple Heart. He got hit in Burma. He was serving under General Stilwell. And they decided to get married at night, 1 minute after midnight. So when it's time to kiss the bride, they can, do it.
And he got down on one knee and everything. What did he say?
I never met a doll with such a gorgeous set of torpedoes in my entire life.
Such a charmer, that Hoagie.
Should we do some drinking games?
Oh, yeah. Fun times, yeah. Real feel-good film. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit first about how this film did. So, yeah, this film came out, it got 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, so mostly negative reviews.
It's not
the worst.
though.
Not the worst.
No, not at all.
It's not The Room. It's not like a complete disaster. It's just, I think, just slightly muddled and ill-conceived. The budget was $50 million, standard mid-budget film. It made $12 million worldwide. Ooh. So it was a huge bomb. That is a massive. But then I think
$12 million.
Yeah, that's worldwide. In America, it made like 8. Like it really died on its arse. But then that was what made me, as I was watching the film, I was like, well, it makes sense, because watching it, I was like, who is this film for? Like, what is the audience for this kind of film? Because it's got this kind of fantastical kind of look to it. It's decidedly not a children's film. Like, there are parts of it which are gruesomely violent, and obviously the plot is very, heavy. Yeah, I just think it was a marketing nightmare, really, really. And the fact that it was also not very good. Yeah. If it had been this story, but it got like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm sure it would have done better. Then it probably would have had some Oscar nominations, or at least some like Golden Globes or something. But it just really died on its ass. So the lowest grossing Robert Zemeckis film of his entire career by a long way. So
it's a shame.
It is, yeah.
Because I like some of his work, so I want him to do well. But
sure,
yeah,
I'm sure he'll bounce back. Anyway, so do some drinking games then.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So first one I've got is drink whenever you see or anyone mentions shoes.
Yeah, I had drink for feet or heels. It could have been directed by Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, it's a very foot fetishy kind of movie. Like, lots of shots of bare feet, women in heels, him in heels. Like
yeah, plenty of that.
Yeah, lots of that. I had drink for distracting music cues. There was so many like heavy-handed pop song things put in there, and some strange choices as well. Like there was one bit when that awful song "Yummy Yummy Yummy I've Got Love in My Tummy," but with this weird like Dido-ish singer doing it, and it was bizarre. Yeah. But yeah, so I just thought the music in this was quite distracting.
Sure. Okay, next one I've got is drink for every new accent. Because this film is full of accents.
This film is basically female character actors in Hollywood doing all the accents. Yeah. So Gwendoline Christie definitely wins the accent award for that Russian. It really came and went as well. It was really in and out. Like, I mean, fair play. She's in one scene basically. I don't expect her to do a full Meryl Streep transformation, but why not just hire a Russian?
Yeah, I know.
Such weird casting. Like, yes. So
because like she's a known name at this point.
Yeah.
Like she's not known for necessarily being amazing, but like she's known like, oh, it's Gwendoline Christie from Game of Thrones. Yeah, great.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing from how small her role is, she did this on like 3 days. She can't have been on set for more than like 3 days. Just came in, did it, left.
I think she's lucky this film didn't do better than it did. Because if it did, I think it would have damaged her career.
Maybe I don't think she's terrible. The accent's pretty bad, but she's just very.
The accent's pretty bad, and the fact that she's there only in one scene just makes her look like such a small actor.
True. Well, she could never be described as a small actor. She's like 6'5".
Well, true, but you know,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like she's nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that character. I wonder if like there is any more if she just did that one scene, or if there's like bits that got edited out. Because I'd be interested to see whether stuff got lost in the edits, or because that's it. It's a lot of characters to juggle, and that does mean a lot of them just don't make it bad. A lot of plot points just get picked up and dropped.
Like what?
They build up a whole plot point with Leslie Mann's ex-boyfriend, who's like.
Oh yeah,
they built up as it'd be some kind of big
wondering
villain.
where that was going.
It went nowhere, did it?
Yeah.
Like he says some vaguely mean things, scares Steve Carrell off a little bit, and then he just disappears and he never comes back. Same with the sentencing. Like there's the whole film's like, oh, we want them to get a big sentence. You know, if you show up in court, they'll get the maximum sentence. Never tells you what they got.
No,
never mentions it. He does go to court. He gives his little inspiring Oscar speech, and then it's like that's it. And then it cuts to it. And then art museum. It's like, well,
but I took it from that with that it was more. You know, he didn't care what they got. It was more he actually showed up in court and he dealt with that issue.
Yeah, of course.
Like he overcame his fear of those people enough to actually turn up and talk against them. It didn't matter what happened to them afterwards. What the judge said that didn't really matter. I mean, maybe it would have helped the film a little bit, but it didn't really matter to his personal story, and that's what this film was.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah. Okay.
I don't know. And then, like, also with the ex-boyfriend, maybe was it Leslie Mann?
The love interest, Nicole, yes, Leslie Mann, yeah.
Like maybe she had a word with him, and like he finally just left, because they clearly weren't together anymore.
Sure, yeah, but it just didn't. It just didn't show anything. It was like, why?
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm just trying to give it the benefit of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe it was just all telling his story, his view on different things.
Well, that's the thing.
Because there were no scenes where he wasn't in.
That's what I mean. Like, I would have appreciated, and that's obviously a choice. But I think this film would have worked better if it really told a story about how the community, works with him to protect him, and why they care about him so much, and like how they feel about the whole situation. Because otherwise, it's just it just came across as quite one dimensional. Right?
Yeah, big time.
I will say, I thought Leslie Mann was very good in this. In what she had to do.
Yeah.
And she probably has the second largest role after him. And I thought the scene when he proposes to her, she played it really nicely. Like, how she's really trying to be kind to him, but obviously she's not going to say yes. It's a shame that the film wasn't better, because I think that's probably one of the best roles I've seen. Most of the time she just plays the girlfriend in, like, rom-coms. She kind of gets stuck in that kind of bracket. So. Okay, drink for violence.
Ooh,
there is some quite jarring violence.
I've got drink for every death or a series of deaths.
Does that include doll deaths?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it would have to.
There's no others.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in this, which I know when it's with the dolls, there's an element of comedy to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like the way that they die and then just become like stiff dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of a bit weird.
No, it is. Parts of it were very funny, and I thought the way the dolls looked, it was creepy, but like I quite enjoyed it as a style. Again, I think if the film itself had been a bit more dark and gritty, that would have been it felt like sometimes it just felt like two different films.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, drink whenever it switches to or from animation.
Oh, okay, that's good. There's a couple of times
I did enjoy how it was kind of a film of two stories that had parallels, and one being animated, one being real life, and I liked it.
Yeah,
and I very much liked when they sort of crossed over a little bit. Like there's that scene when he's in his house by himself, and then like gunfire starts coming through the house, and it sort of I don't know, it crosses over a bit, and it was good.
Drink for doll boobs.
Great,
lots and lots of doll boobs. Do you know the actress who played the porn star? Like, there's a scene where he's just watching porn.
Oh, yeah.
She's in a couple of the doll scenes as well. Robert Zemeckis' wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Just his much, much younger wife as a porn star.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very strange.
It is very, very odd, yeah.
So was she acting in that, or was Robert Zemeckis' wife actually a porn star and that was a real porno?
Apparently she did get her start in softcore porn. I read up about it a little bit, so yeah. I don't know if they used old porn.
So flashback to her roots then?
Maybe, yeah. Just interesting choice. Like.
Cool, I'm all done with drinking games.
Okay, just two more. Drink for walking shots. Any shots of him walking along the road with his trolley. And drink for floral print dresses. Because Leslie Mann's character loved a floral print. All of her dresses were like prime. It was like she's on Desperate Housewives or something. It was all like bright primary colours and just flowers everywhere. Because the town itself is quite dingy and everyone else is dressed very, like, is quite dressed down. So I get it must be like a style choice. She's like this new character who comes in, but she just looked very out of place.
Did you think it was a bit weird when, I mean, this is completely different, change topic. You know how he's got all the signs in his house that say, like, you know, turn heating down.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Only take one drug a day, one pill a day, to which he's always taking, like, multiple pills a day. Was it weird, that moment where he just suddenly throws all the pills down the sink? Just like, you probably should be taking them for a reason.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was, because I thought that was going to build up to, like, a suicide attempt.
Yeah, I think...
Or was the idea that he was considering it and then he decides not to?
I think so, yeah. I think they definitely hinted that. But just like, you probably need those.
Yeah.
Like, if it's an antidepressant or something, like, okay, well, now things are going to get worse if you're not taking the pills.
Yeah, I don't think...
And, like, yeah, don't take 3 a day. Take 1 a day as you're prescribed to, but don't suddenly take none.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Gwendoline Christie is going to be happy when she comes to check on him next. He's throwing all his pills down the sink. But, yeah. Again, that scene has no analogue in the documentary at all. That's just, again, that's what I mean. It's trying to make it so Hollywood. It's like, oh, let's make him... He's all better now. He's got a girlfriend. He's not on antidepressants anymore. Life is good. But it just felt like the wrong film to kind of sentimentalise that much. The wrong story to sentimentalise that much. It felt a little bit irresponsible. So
Yes.
Oh, we didn't talk about Diane Kruger's character.
Who's she?
Deja Forrest, the Belgian witch of Marwen Call. Again, doing all the accent work. I mean, she is German and she's playing a Belgian, so I don't know if she changed her own accent or just camped up a bit. For ages, I was like, Deja Forrest, why do I know that name? Why is that ringing any bells? Do you know what it is?
No.
It's John Carter. The woman in John Carter is Deja Forrest.
Really?
Yeah. So that's obviously...
Weird.
Yeah, again, it's in the documentary that the guy named her after. Because, you know, John Carter was also like a very popular series of novels and stuff, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, weird little crossover there.
That is weird. Well, what do you know?
What do you know, yeah. There you go, fascinating facts for you.
No! They think they are so clever. I will show them. No one defies Deja Forest. I am the Belgian witch of Marwen, and Captain Hoggy belongs to me. Me and no one else. You will build me a time machine.
Okay. Right, well, I guess that we're all done with that. So before we get to pitching sequels, which is going to be a fantastic time.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a good one, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, listeners, if you have enjoyed this episode, I mean, don't really know why you would, but if you enjoyed previous episodes, then you can show your appreciation by going to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset, where you can subscribe. That's the wrong word. Pledge. Pledge is a strong word.
You've been doing this for like 2 years now, Harry. Come on.
I mean, pledge is the word that Patreon use.
So use pledge.
But it's a strong word. It's like, you know, pledge yourself to this cult.
You pledge your allegiance to the cult of Beyond the Box Set. Yes, just give us your date of birth, your social security numbers. We will get rid of all of your phaetons. You will elevate to the next level with every $10,000 you donate to us, and we'll save your life and your soul.
Yeah, great. So all that's available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Yeah, eternal salvation and riches beyond your wildest imaginings.
Yeah. But in reality, if you do go there, then you can donate as much or little as you like. It doesn't need to be 10,000, but it can be.
Yeah.
That's fine. But it can be as little as $2 a month. And if you do, you get a few bonus things from us. You get a bonus show called Beyond the Box Set, where we review cinema releases. What are we doing next? Lion King.
Yeah.
That should be interesting. That should be something.
Yeah. I will with reserve judgment. I've not seen it yet. So we'll see. But yes, I'm sure I will have opinions.
Yeah, so you get that about once a week, maybe. So that's basically 2 Beyond the Box Set episodes instead of the price of one. For the price of one.
Yeah.
What?
Well, the price of one is nothing. This podcast is free.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've not thought this through.
Yeah. You get double your Beyond the Box Set pleasure for just a small additional fee.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know, you can choose what that fee is. It's pay as you feel. So if you think an extra 25 minutes of Beyond the Box Set in your life every week is worth $2 a month, that's great. If you think it's worth $100 a month, even better.
We're talking too much about the price. This is bad marketing.
This is bad marketing.
Okay, benefits.
The benefits are what matters.
Benefits, okay. You can choose an episode on the main show. Once a month, we have a Patreon episode where a patron is invited to come on. They don't need to come on, though. They can choose an episode and do it remotely. They can come in person, or they can not come on at all, and we'll do the film anyway.
Yeah.
Depends what you want to do. You're in charge, you're the boss, you pay the wages. That's it, really.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you get is once a month, every patron gets a 30-second advert slot where they can advertise anything they like. It can be their own podcast, their own business, or whatever you want to talk about for 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Seconds. 30
That's half the show. That's its own podcast.
So all that is available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Indeed.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine.
Regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn.
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
This is all as is.
Okay, sequels.
Okay, well, you're going first since I chose the film. So
Right,
hit me.
okay, so my sequel, I've not thought of a name for it.
Okay.
So maybe if you do, you can let me know.
Okay. I appreciate the listeners. This is a hard week, so
Yeah,
just can't.
this
This
has
is a
been-
very hard week.
This has been quite difficult. I think that there are two predictable things that I could have done, and I reckon I've done number 2 on that list.
Okay.
The first one would be some kind of an Avengers thing.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be very you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't go for that route.
Yeah, I mean, the thought crossed my mind, but I didn't really know how to make it interesting.
Okay.
And I had a better idea anyway.
Would that have been the toys are all Avengers, or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. And so instead I did a prequel to Toy Story.
Oh, okay.
It's a prequel to Toy Story 3, specifically.
Oh, okay.
So we start with an animation of the toys from Toy Story and some kind of adventure.
Okay.
But this is one of those animations that happens at, like, the start of Toy Story 2 and 3 is like they're in a Western scenario.
Oh, I see. So it's
something like
setting
that.
the scene.
Yeah. Something like that. After a while, essentially, a chapter. That's kind of how Welcome to Marwen worked. Essentially, after a chapter, everything pauses and we go into the real world, where we see that Andy's mum, who is going to be played by Annie Potts, who voices Bo Peep.
Oh, okay.
Now, I know she is... Andy's mum is actually voiced by, like, Laurie Metcalf or something.
Yes,
but
it is, yeah.
for purposes, this is what's happening here. Because
Okay.
in Welcome to Marwen, everybody's voiced by a character you see.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd do that here.
Okay. Why can't Laurie Metcalf be on screen?
Because she doesn't play one of the toys.
Oh, okay, sure.
So she's creating a stop-motion story using the toys that Andy doesn't play with anymore.
Oh, that's interesting. So all the ones that have disappeared at the beginning of Toy Story 3, she's not throwing them away, she's taken them. Or are these just the main toys?
No, it's the main toys.
Oh, so this is
So
Woody
like,
and Buzz.
Woody and Buzz and Ham and everybody like
Okay,
that.
sure.
Yeah. So this is it's before Toy Story 3. Like, they've not been given away or anything. They're all still there. They're just not played with by Andy anymore.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much going to be the opening scene. The rest of the film is going to be a flashback. So we get a flashback to when her children were quite young, and we see some kind of a scene where their dad, played by Tom Hanks, walks out on them and leaves her to raise her children by herself. Because that's never actually covered in Toy Story, who was Andy's dad and
True, yeah.
what the story was there. So I feel like this could be a bit of that.
Okay. I think they're deliberately not told that story.
I know,
But sure, they...
but I'm not Pixar, and
You're not
I'm
Pixar.
going to
Not
tell
yet,
this
no,
story.
sure, okay.
Don't expect this story to be particularly happy, by the way.
No, well, I wouldn't. Based on the source material.
Yeah.
But based on both the source materials, Toy Story 3 was bleak.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Tom Hanks, the dad, he walks out and he leaves her to raise the children by herself, which was very difficult for her, but she made it through.
Okay.
We see a few different glimpses of her life, things like how she relied a lot on her sister, played by Joan Cusack, voice of Jessie,
Yeah.
for a lot of support. And I don't know if you want to try and ad-lib how she knows all the other cast of the toys.
Oh, so all of the toys in what you're saying is all the toys in Toy Story.
They're all
people
based on
Andy
people in her
and
life. Andy's mum's life.
mum's life. Okay. So Jessie is her sister. Did you say?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Is it younger sister?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So what other toys? So we've got Woody and Buzz, obviously. Mm-hmm. So
Well, Woody is based on the dad that left.
Woody's the. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Woody's a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is Buzz maybe?
I do have a thing for Buzz.
I bet you do. Sorry.
Wow.
They just slipped out.
Yeah, so a lot of this is going to be centered around, or I don't know, told through her telling stories at a support group that she's going to.
Oh, really?
Because she's now suffering from depression.
Oh, because her husband's left her, or just...
Probably because her husband's left her and the stress of raising 2 children by herself and, holding down a job and stuff like that. And, she's having a hard time with it.
Okay.
She's going to a support group, and the person leading that support group is Tim Allen.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good, because then he's kind of a hero in her mind.
Yeah.
I like this. This is good, okay. Okay, so that's Buzz. Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head can be like the
next door neighbours, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking like crotchety neighbours who are just like gossipy. She's a big gossip. He's just a old grump. I like that.
I think Rex should be somebody else at the support group.
Oh yes, someone with like major anxiety issues.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Ham could be her divorce lawyer, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's got that.
That could be a thing.
Yeah, or her accountant.
Maybe. What about like a colleague at work? Like,
sure.
He's a good friend. He's just a bit weird.
Sure. Well, I only thought accountant or lawyer because obviously he keeps all of the money.
Ah, yes, I see what you're saying.
So
okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, like maybe she's having some financial difficulties with the divorce, and he's
okay. Well, in that case, Slink can be her like colleague because I feel like he's just a good friend.
He's man's best friend.
He's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, he's the best friend. That
okay,
works.
Cool. Are we missing anyone? I mean, there's the aliens. The little greeny things.
Yeah, they don't really have character though, do they?
They don't particularly. No. Maybe there's like a group of like Jehovah's Witnesses or Scientologists or something that are always banging door to door.
Sure. What's the thing about the claw then? Could we do something there?
I don't know.
No, I don't know either. You need to fit that joke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This isn't the right story for it.
Well, is she imagining all of these? So she sees some Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're just like all about God and like God will save us. God is our master or something, And then she imagines them as aliens in a grabber machine who just worship the.
Just worshipping this one thing.
Yeah. It's her imagination. So she sees that. And
Like,
you might as well worship a claw in a in a fairground machine. I don't know.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Is that the whole cast?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be a film of 2 stories. One of them is going to be the animated part of the film, which tells the eventual story of how everybody became friends and Bowen and Woody fell in love and lived happily ever after.
So, just to stop here, are the parts with the mum, are they going to be live action? So it's going to be Annie Potts in live action?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's going to switch to Pixar-style animation?
Yes.
Okay, it's going to be
Pixar animation, but in like a Western world, not like they're living in Andy's room with Sid as the next door neighbour.
Sure. Okay.
And then the real life part of the story, that's going to show, that's where the interesting story is. That's going to take place over many years, where Andy's mum learns to she works through her depression by concentrating on raising her 2 brilliant children, Andy and Andy's sister.
Yeah, who is never seen.
Whatever her name is.
Yeah, is she? She's in the second one, isn't she? Or is she in the first?
She's in the first one as a baby.
Okay.
I forget what she is in the second one. In the third one, she's in it. She's like a young teenager.
Okay. Is it the first one when Buzz is Mrs. Nesbit?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yes, because he loses an arm at Sid's place.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the sister takes him. Or is that Sid's sister?
No. Oh, no, it was Sid's sister, yes.
That was Sid's sister. So
no, because Andy's sister was just a baby at that point.
Wow, the dad, real jerk, left literally with a baby. Wow.
Yeah, I guess.
Didn't even stick around until she was walking.
Maybe it's trust him out. Okay, well, anyway, the real life part of the story shows us how Andy's mum raises these 2 children, and we see her at her happiest moment when both her children are an age, like a few years after her dad left, where they can both play together with the toys. It's just this beautiful moment where they're just playing together.
So you said this is a prequel to Toy Story 3. Is it actually just following all the Toy Stories, just from the mum's perspective?
Kinda, yeah, but up until Toy Story 3.
Sure, okay. It ends at the point of Toy Story 3.
Pretty much.
Okay, right.
And so we're also going to get a scene where Andy agrees to give his sister Bo Peep, a toy that she's absolutely fallen in love with. It's her favourite toy, the best one she wants to play with, and so Bo then becomes Andy's sister's toy.
Andy's sister's toy. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So is the reason you want Annie Potts because it's like the doll is like the mother's, it has become like the surrogate mother?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the doll has been, a favourite toy of both her children.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now eventually another time jump. The kids grow into teenagers and they play with their toys much, much less. During a sort out at one point, unfortunately, neither of them wants a lot of the original toys, including Bo Peep, who gets taken with a heavy heart to a charity shop. More years go by, and when Andy reaches the end of high school, he announces that he's going to be leaving home and he's going to go to a college in a different town. Mm-hmm. This starts to break Mum's heart as she gets flashbacks to when her husband left and similar feelings resurface. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't want a repeat of the feelings that she had when her husband left, so she goes straight to a therapist who helps her through it. Mm-hmm. Maybe that can be Tim Allen again. Maybe she goes back to Tim Allen, her hero. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's someone who looks a lot like Tim Allen, but with a very thick Spanish accent.
I like it. Okay, yes, that's a good one. So Tim Allen tells her to find someone to take her mind off it, and this is where she gets the idea to start a stop motion project. And this is where we get back to the start of the film, where she's doing this thing with her children's toys. It's kind of her connection to that brilliant point in her life when both her kids were just playing with these toys, and they've not been played with for years, and it's kind of a metaphor for how our happiness has kind of faded away as times have gone by. And then this leads directly into Toy Story 3, where Andy eventually remembers his childhood, and seeing this, his mother gets reminded again of that brilliant time earlier in their childhood, and it makes her mother realise that the toys will just go on to make other children and their parents very happy, and she finished the film kind of content.
Oh, that's nice. So she makes peace with everything. What makes her like find peace with it all though? Like, because kids leaving is a traumatic.
I think
experience.
it's just to see that Andy does still love the toys.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's difficult for him to give the toys away, just like it's difficult for him to actually leave. And Andy does still love it, and he will be coming back. It's not like he's leaving forever.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's cool. Can it conclude with her going on a date with some version of Tim Allen, either Spanish Tim Allen or regular Tim Allen, or maybe someone else? I don't know.
I mean, it could if you think it should.
I just think it'd be nice to give her something of her own. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she can certainly go on a date with Spanish Allen.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, I think it's pretty bad to go on a date with your therapist. I think a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's quite frowned upon.
He'd be struck off quickly. But I don't know. Maybe he meet. What are there any other? Oh, I know. I know. So she waves him off tearfully. Bittersweet ending. She's happy tears. All the stuff you mentioned. It's great. Then she kind of has a meet cute with a sexy Canadian biker played by Keanu Reeves.
Okay,
she goes on a date with him.
Yep, that works.
Rides off into the sunset. End of movie.
Yeah, that works perfectly.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. So I guess that's just going to be Toy Story 2.5 or something?
Sort of thing, yeah. I don't have a good name for it, but yeah.
I like it. That's good. I have done something not dissimilar.
Okay, is it Toy Story?
I've also gone down the Toy Story route.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I mean, if I'd known what this film was going to be, I don't think I would have picked it for this podcast, because it's a tough one, because it is a real story and you don't want to make fun of the actual guy, obviously, and anything like that. So, and it's kind of a hard story to follow up with, particularly. So yeah, I didn't want to go too much into him or his life or all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was the obvious answer was to go with the toys, I guess. I've gone about it a different way though. I think it's different enough that it's not just repeating what you said. So my version still is basically it's still set in the Marwen universe. The Marwen cinematic universe.
Sure.
So we're going to open. Again, I've not got a title yet, but we will come to something. So we open with some kind of like Barbie doll, or like some, let's just say it's a Barbie doll. She gets unwrapped. She's just been purchased. She gets out of her original packaging, and she finds herself in an idyllic, sun-dappled model village. And so she's really happy, and she's wandering around, just admiring her new home, And then suddenly, a hail of bullets just flies her way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she's obviously completely terrified, and she jumps onto the ground. And then suddenly, a small group of tooled up, suspiciously busty female dolls come running her way and start just firing machine guns at the attackers, basically. The mysterious attackers are driven off, and then she's sitting, fully hyperventilating. She's completely terrified. The women approach her and grab her hand and say, "Welcome to Marwen."
Okay. Yeah.
So then I've got some dialogue here. Sorry. Would you like to be Barbie, or would you like to be Roberta? Roberta is one of the dolls she was the Merrick Weaver, the friend. It could be any of the dolls, really. It doesn't matter which one it is.
I'll be Roberta, sure.
Okay. So I'll be Barbie then. That was terrifying. Is it like this all the time here?
Pretty much.
So I guess our little girl must really like war games, huh?
Well, it isn't a little girl.
Oh no, I belong to a boy?
You could say that.
So then, just as that conversation is happening, Steve Carell's character comes in, and they all obviously revert to their doll form. He picks up Barbie, rips off her blouse, puts down the Captain Hoagie doll, and makes them do some very child-unfriendly things to each other.
Wow, okay.
So then, after that game, he leaves again, and the dolls are left alone once again. And of course, the first thing Captain Hoagie says is, "You can be Hoagie."
Ladies, I'm so sorry about that. Truly.
And Barbie says, "I don't think I'm going to like it here." So basically what we're getting here is that this is set around the beginning of the Welcome to Marwen film, and one of the dolls has been introduced, obviously. And it's kind of playing on the whole Toy Story thing where, the toys just want to be played with, and this one be loyal to their kids. But this poor Barbie has not landed with a kid. She's landed with a deeply traumatized middle-aged man who's using her to work out his sexual frustrations.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's the darkest Toy Story sequel ever made.
Okay.
So, a few weeks pass and Barbie becomes assimilated into the group, and we follow as Mark continues to play out his lonely, traumatic fantasies with them. And after one particularly horrifying game, in which several of the dolls get their faces melted off, because we saw that was a thing, the survivors decide that this can't go on any longer, and they need to do something about it. So they hit on the solution that the only way to stop Mark from unwittingly torturing them, because they know he's not like a Sid, he's not like a bad person, he's just working through his, he's damaged. So they realise that the only solution to stop Mark from unwittingly torturing them is to help him to get a girlfriend in the real world. So they're kind of wondering how to do this, and then a few days later, conveniently enough, they see an attractive new neighbour moving in across the street, and the plan goes into action. So this is obviously going to be Leslie Mann.
Right, okay, I see.
So basically what I was thinking is that we just follow the plot of Welcome to Marwen, but we find that the toy, it's like any Toy Story movie, it's like the humans don't know that the toys are manipulating them, but the toys are trying to manipulate events to get them together. So they keep trying to create scenarios in which he has to go around to her house. They find out that she really likes teapots and all that kind of stuff, and they basically work behind the scenes, the toys, to make these two people fall in love. And they think it's working because they see that obviously Steve Carrell does get very obsessed with Leslie Mann's character, and so they think it's happening. They think, oh, it's going to happen, and then they manage to get him to propose to her, and then obviously that goes horribly wrong, and that just makes him even more depressed, and he starts doing his most disturbing portraits ever. I think it's at that point in the film, after she turns him down, is that when he does the torture fantasy? Where Captain Hoagie's being strung up and tortured.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, that happens, and then it's they've inadvertently made things go from bad to worse, basically. That's just a disaster. And I guess maybe the villain, because you've got to have a toy villain, could be Deja Forrest.
Yep. Definitely.
So it's still voiced by Diane Kruger, but so she's genuinely the villain of the piece. So she can be floating around, just being villainous, I guess. But yeah, and that's kind of all I've got. But I was thinking that maybe they could just so obviously they realise that that's not worked out very well. But then they realise that maybe Merritt Weaver, she's the the nice friend who's been hanging around for a while. Maybe she's the right one for him. So then again, just using their doll manipulations, they can kind of work to kind of maybe get them together a little bit and make things happen, and they end up going for sushi and falling in love.
Yeah.
Not my biggest idea in the world, but
no, but it works.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's a way you could do this without being offensive to anyone, is just have, except for Toy Story fans.
Yeah.
Because some dark things happen to those toys in this movie. Sid is a walk in the park compared to Mark.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I was kind of feeling you go with it. So yeah, and I guess that's just, again, it's Toy Story. Well, it is definitely a Marwen film, but with a Toy Story twist, I think. So,
yeah, sure. No, that makes sense. Very good.
Okay. So that leads us to listener submissions.
Yeah.
Do you have any this week?
No, after you.
You got nothing?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I had a few this week, so let me find them for you. Actually, I'll tell you what. One thing I did find with this is that this film really, considering nobody's really seen, or I didn't think anyone had really seen this film, I did actually find a lot of people who had on our Twitter feed, and there was some real mixed opinions on it.
Oh, yeah.
So I might read out some sequel pictures and maybe also read out some reviews as well. So Gidget Von LaRue, at Gidget Von LaRue, said, I saw it and loved it. I'd seen the real-life documentary about the real guy, so I think it was handled really well, and it's visually beautiful. I do like the visuals. I would say it is visually... Maybe beautiful is the wrong word, but it's certainly visually striking, which is what you want from Robert Zemeckis films.
Yeah.
I liked what they did with it. So Stale Popcorn, at Stale Popcorn, said, saw it with my wife, co-host saw it as well, and we all enjoyed it. I don't know if I could see it as a date movie. No. I want you to watch this, at IWYTWT, catchy, said, we didn't see this, but we did an episode on the documentary, Marwen Call. It was a fascinating story, though a bit exploitative when it came to Hogan Camp's queerness. Maybe. You've not seen the documentary, so I know you don't know. But first of all, queerness is I guess that's kind of a very broad term. He's not gay, but yeah, there's a lot more in the documentary about his cross-dressing. I think another thing with the film is that it really just reduces his cross-dressing to, he likes to wear women's shoes occasionally, whereas the documentary goes a lot more into that side of him as well. So
Right.
yeah, the film kind of airbrushes that out a little bit, which maybe again makes it a little bit more boring than it could have been. Paola Harvey said, I saw it and didn't understand why it was overlooked at the box office. It was such a touching movie with a strong performance by Steve Carrell. I'll definitely watch it again. Fair enough. And Cinema Steve at Steven_Sosa said, I missed it in the theatres, but recently watched it at home. It's a wildly uneven film that doesn't know what direction it wants to go in. Is it a whimsical fantasy film dealing with pain, or is it a dramatic analysis of a tortured protagonist? It was difficult to tell. I would agree with that. Similarly, Bohan Reviews said, it's a tonal mess and most of the actors don't live up to their potential, but Steve Carell is actually very good in it. And at Simon Depressed Moviegoer said, I've been thinking about this film more and more for the past 6 months, and it's a total mess, and all the time I didn't know if I was meant to be laughing at him for his fetishes or sympathising with the person, and I don't think the director knew either. But Steve Carell was very good. I don't think we were supposed to laugh at him.
No, I don't think so.
I never got the sense that he was a figure of fun. At Rosa Reviews said, saw it, quite enjoyed it. Straightforward. Milstead on Movies said, I thought it wasn't a bad film, but wasn't particularly engaging either. It was well stylised. And Colby Told Me said, I really loved it. To this day, I don't get all the complaints about it. So those are some of the general reviews. And then to move on to some actual sequel pictures. We have Connor Crehan said, goodbye from Marwen.
Fair enough.
Eli J. Tailson said, escape from Marwen. Ryan Kilmer said, welcome to Marwen, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, that's an actual film. There's a film called Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
No, right.
Nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Gabriel Canada said, from the Earth to the Marwen. Joe Herman said, Morwen, as in more Marwen sequel. Andrew Usher said, to Welcome to Marwen. Classic. Kevin Murray said, Marwen versus the Puppet Master versus the Demonic Toys.
Sure.
Rob Farnham said, welcome to Marwener. Josh Nolette said, the 40-year-old Marwen. Brian Vaughn said, welcome back to Marwen. Zachary Pierce said, see you, Marwen. Scott F. Butler said, I realise I'm jumping ahead here, but for the third one, how about Marfree?
Yeah. Yep.
Reed Hansen said, John Carter of Marwen. David Handloss said, Marwen Confidential. Darren Gay said, Driving Miss Marwen. Carter Gray said, Marwen First Blood. Sarah Homan said, he actually gets the psychological help he needs and learns to manage his PTSD without being a total creeper. So,
Yeah, that's sure.
yeah. Over on Twitter, the Cinema Guys at the Cinema Guys said, Too Fast, Too Marwen, the new toys. When Woody and Buzz have a falling out, again, going down the Toy Story route. When Woody and Buzz have a falling out, they both go their separate ways. Along the journey, Buzz meets Marwen, and they soon become great friends, making Buzz think, Woody who? So, I don't know if Buzz would enjoy hanging out with Marwen that much, but maybe. At Blokebusters podcast, at Blokebusters, said, Welcome to Marwen 2, Population, You. Over the course of the sequel, we see Steve Carell lose himself in his fantasy, which obviously never stopped, so much that one day he actually becomes the toy. It's then that he realises that the others are all alive as well. It's then revealed that Toy Story, I guess it was the obvious route, is actually half right and toys are alive but basically immobile if anyone sees them at all. But toys can swap places with people who play with them enough. Mark sees himself head off to live his former life, but comes to the realisation that he's happy where he is. The end of the film is a garage sale held by Mark, with a young boy picking up the soldier. That young boy looks oddly familiar with a red cowboy hat. Oh, so it's like a prequel to Toy Story.
I see.
And it's like, so Steve Carell's character swaps places with Captain Hoagie. He becomes the toy, Captain Hoagie becomes the man.
Wow.
Interesting. I like that. Good work.
Kind of a Freaky Friday kind of situation.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Mike and Oscar at MM and Oscar said, well, the obvious sequel is Now Leaving Marwen, the 50-year-old virgin. Tom Hanks Defence Force, what a great name, at Tom Hanks Defence, says, back to Marwen. He goes back to Marwen, realising he's left a doll behind. So, sure. At Contrarian Prime, the Contrarians say, welcome to the Marwen. Axl Rose and Slash do new drugs and they turn into miniatures. Oh, it's like welcome to the jungle. Carell happens to find them and places them into his miniature town. When they sober up, they must decide if they want to go back to the real world or stay in a place that truly loves them. And Kip Mooney, at Kip J. Mooney, said, if you want to make a World War II movie, then just do it, Bob Zemeckis. Which, yeah. He did apparently do a film called Allied, which we didn't... Do you remember that one? We didn't see it, but...
Oh, was that Kate Blanchett and
It was the French lady. It was Brad Pitt. And
I knew Brad Pitt. Yeah, I was going to say Kate Blanchett. But...
It wasn't Kate Blanchett. It was Lavigne Rose. She was in the Batman film. Marianne Cotillard.
Ah, yeah.
Not apparently it was quite good. Didn't see it though. So yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, so those are our listener submissions for Welcome to Marwen. Thank you guys. It was more than I expected for this film. If you have any sequel ideas for Welcome to Marwen or any film we've done in the past, please let us know. We are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us at beyondtheboxset.com. Our podcast is available at all good podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast. You name it, we're on it. If we're not on it, let us know and we will get on it. You can also support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. On social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Just search Beyond the Box Set or at Beyond the Box Set on Twitter. And we have exclusive merchandise available at tpublic.com. Again, just search Beyond the Box Set. And Harry, what are we doing next?
Well, starting off next week, we are doing a brand new season.
Hooray!
And so let's recap the season we've done this year. We did films based off games.
Yeah, very good.
Great season. We did Glenn Close season.
Fabulous season.
Worst season that's ever existed of anything.
Huge success.
Even worse than a season of football.
Oh, God. Well, that's a low blow.
Yeah.
Fine.
And then we did disaster movie season.
Yeah, it's got ups and downs.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too samey. That's the only problem I had with that one.
Yeah.
A lot of the same films.
I mean, you know, that's kind of predictable.
Yeah. As were most of the films we watched.
Yes, this one I do not believe will be a bit too samey.
No.
This season we are going to do films based off Stephen King novels.
I'm so excited for this.
Which opens up quite a lot.
I mean,
however, there's really not very much that I know, like other than The Shining, which we've already done. So yeah, we'll see.
This will be another education for Harry. Great. Yeah.
Maybe, well, probably, but we'll. I'm sure it'll be better than Glenn Close. It doesn't take much.
All right, let it go, man. Stop. She's already dead. Stop kicking the corpse. Is she? No, she's not dead. Her Oscar hopes are dead.
Sorry.
Did you say? Oh, were you disappointed that Glenn Close has not died?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Anyway, so next week I'm picking a film that I have not seen.
I wonder if Glenn Close has ever been in a Stephen King movie. She must have been. Everyone has.
I'm picking a film I've not seen, which I know is the lesson to be learned from this episode is a bit of a risk. However, I do not believe that this film is about mental health issues and quite unhappy and based on a true story. However, wouldn't be fully surprised.
Okay.
But, you know, given it's written by Stephen King, does he write many true story things?
I don't think he writes a lot of based on... No, he doesn't write based on true stories. I mean, unless... I'm sure a lot of them are based on his own life. You know, not directly, but, you know, like, metaphorically.
Okay, cool.
But, yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure this one will go down well, and I really hope it will. It's Stand By Me.
Ooh, okay. An interesting choice to start with. Like, not your typical Stephen King.
No.
Yeah. Well, it's not a horror movie, is what I mean.
Yeah, well, I don't know many of his...
No, it's a great film, and it's a classic, and it's been on my list for a while.
That fit in our rules.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
Okay.
I just said I didn't see it.
Oh, okay, sorry. No, it's really good. That's a good choice. I'm excited to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be too... It's not going to be this. Okay.
So join us everybody next week for Stand By Me.
I'm excited. Cool. See you next week.
Bye.
Hey, where's my top? What happened to my top?
The Nazis ripped it off.
Again?